Thank you for tuning in to The Meliza Show. This episode will feature Jus Jay King, where he shares his story of growing up in Barbados and how he became a producer and international DJ. Jus Jay was awarded Redbull 3-South Caribbean Champion, 2-time World DJ Finalist, and Crop Over Road March Champion, to name a few. He shares how the Black Keys Riddim came to life as a first-time collaboration with a longtime friend. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Meliza Show. I look up to you. I see what you've done and what you're continuing to do. I want to thank you for your time being here.
No problem.
And I also wanted to take this time to understand, how did Jus Jay King become Jus Jay King?
Well, I actually started as Jus Jay,
Okay.
and there really is no crazy backstory to it, When I decided I actually wanted to be a DJ, because I started as a promoter first, and when I decided I wanted to become a DJ, I never really ever had a nickname, so I had to kind of invent one in a sense. So I was like, it's just me, I'm Jus Jay, because my name is Justin. Mm-hmm. So the King in Jus Jay King is because my last name is actually King, so it's Justin King. Got it. And yeah, initially it was just Jus Jay, and when I started actually releasing music and making music, on Spotify there was already 2 or 3 Jus Jays, and I was like, how are people gonna find me? So I just kind of decided, let me just put King on the end of this. Even my IG handle and everything, it was just Jus Jay Music or something. I changed everything to Jus Jay King, as that's my last name, and I kind of just rolled with it. Yeah.
And talk to me about Justin. When did you start to discover that you wanted to get into the entertainment industry?
I'm kind of born into it, to be honest. My dad moved to Barbados from St. Lucia. He's a genius of a piano player, classically trained from 3 years old. So when he came to Barbados, basically he was he played an integral role in the band and live music circuit. Okay. As I was growing up. So all through my life, growing up, I can remember bands rehearsing in the house, music always playing in the house, Mm-hmm. But my journey actually started in entertainment, actually as a player in the industry, as a break dancer.
What?
Yeah, I was in school, in secondary school. I would have been about maybe 15. It was around the time You Got Served and all those crazy dance. Yeah. Back then, dancing was cool.
Yeah.
I find that it's changed a lot. Some people still dance, but a lot of people kind of have swayed away from it. But back then, it was so cool, and I just loved it. And I just would skip class and everything, going in the hall and close the curtains, and we're in there flipping and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And that kind of landed us on stage, and I ended up being a break dancer for bands and stuff. And from there I actually ended up in a band as a singer, and that's where my actual music career starts. So my entertainment career started as a dancer, my music career started as a singer. I wasn't the greatest though. I'm not gonna make you think that I was
they're gonna make you dance or sing right now, but
yeah, I'm not gonna make you think that was some crazy Usher Raymond or something. I really wasn't. I wish that I was. Nah, hell no. But that became an important part of my journey, because my instrument that I play is actually my understanding of music through being a singer. I can't play any instruments.
So you're saying you've tried playing an instrument?
I never really tried. I don't play instruments, but I make music because I have the musicality in my head from a singer. So singing harmonies and stuff, mm-hmm. I'll poke those in, and I make my music around what I sing in my mind, right? But yeah, I did that for maybe about 3 years, between maybe 19 and 21, and I realized I didn't love it. At the time, I remember it was shortly after Rihanna had got signed. She's from Barbados. I was friends with her friends, and we obviously knew each other through the through the grapevine kind of thing. Exactly. And I mean, back then, for somebody to get signed to a major record deal from Barbados, it wasn't really a thing. Yeah. So when it happened, everybody had stars in their eyes. Everybody wanted to sign a record deal. And, I was a kid. I wanted to sign a record deal too, right? But as I grew, I realized, I don't really want that. That's not really the life I want, I started getting bored of doing the same songs all the time. And I went to New York I had never left the Caribbean until I was 20.
Wow.
And I went to New York for the first time with my girlfriend at the time, and everything I saw there just blew my mind. I'd never seen buildings more than maybe about 10, 8 stories tall. Like in Barbados, it's flat. You know, and it just blew my mind. Everything I saw, I was so inspired. But one of the things that kind of caught me was actually that electronic music boom. It was like, that was when like EDM, as they would call it, was like taking off. And I just loved it. It was so unique and original. I came back to Barbados and I started like throwing events that would incorporate these, and I didn't really know who to book or anything, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a whole lot of people were doing it, and I'd always had like a liking for DJing. I never did it, but I always like liked the art form or whatever. And I decided to buy a little controller, and I was like, let me just try it, because as I'm doing events, I could just put myself on them anyway.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and then I realized I really loved it. And, as I grew as a promoter, I grew with it, with my DJing, until now where I'm holding festivals in Barbados and I'm traveling the world as a DJ and a producer,
Incredible.
So
you've named a lot of things there. I do want to touch on growing up in Barbados. What was that like? You didn't leave till 20. What kept you there, and what was it?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting because a lot of people look at me and they feel as if like I kind of grew up in money kind of thing, just because of the way that I look, The truth is, I really didn't come up in money at all. So like going abroad for university and stuff, because I went to like a really good school in Barbados and all. A lot of my friends would have gone off to university around the world and stuff, in London and here in Canada, in the US, and I couldn't go. Like, we couldn't afford that, right? So, that's kind of basically what kind of kept me in Barbados for so long. It's just I was not privileged to really get out at the time, and as I started to, grow up and I was working and making money, then I kind of started to get out, so.
And would you say, your upbringing wise, or did you come over any obstacles or challenges that, did you like school? Was it something that you wanted to pursue, or were you in your mind, I'm going to be in this entertainment industry? Interesting,
because, the world really has changed a lot in recent times. I feel like we are living in the fastest evolving world of all of history. I feel like when I was in school, entertainment really wasn't something that people consider to be a real career. In school and stuff, like everybody was like, if you're not trying to be a doctor, a lawyer or something, then you're not really serious. Like, you're not, what are you doing kind of thing? Like, this is, being a singer or being an artist it's not a real career. Until Rihanna kind of got signed, like I said, and it was like, whoa, what happened? It's like it rocked our world in a sense. So to answer your question, not really. Like it was never like a real life thing. I always felt like I was like an outcast, like I was kind of destined for nothingness, because all of my friends were going off to school and learning all this crazy fancy careers, and I was flipping around and sliding around my head, right? So in a nutshell, I would say, not really. I never really intended to be an entertainer. I just kind of followed, wherever my mind was at the time. I've always been a free spirit, so while I never knew where the income would have came from, I never knew what a career could come out of it, I still just did it. I didn't care. Like, I was like, whatever, in Barbados, I would say, like, they never really catered to arts, but now we actually have like a creative arts center at the university. Things have changed since. But back then,
not so much.
I was wasting time, basically.
I know, it feels like that, right? Like, you're just going through the motions, you're trying to understand, you're growing, you're finding yourself. And it's hard for you, because especially in school, right, they tell you, you need to continue going to school. You need to get this degree and get it to where you are. But you've broken the norm, and you've been able to prove otherwise. Among
other people, but yes.
And, that really inspires me to see how you've created, and we just spoke about before we had it on set, Inspire and the Imagine Weekend and the different events that you've curated. You just spoke about how this period of time may be a slower period, but it's really not for you.
Yes.
So tell me more about your events and the things that you're promoting right now.
Okay, so I mean, like I said, my first real jump into the circuit as like an adult is really as a promoter. You know, that's where I would say, you know, it really the seriousness of the career really begun. Some 14 years later, you know, I'm real proud to say that I definitely, you know, I'm part of, because I definitely don't do it on my own. You know, I've got a really strong team of people with me who we produce some of the, you know, biggest events in Barbados, especially during the crop over season. There's Lost in Paradise, there's Lifted, there's O-Ship. And then most recently, starting last year, it was definitely the biggest and what I think might be the flagship of all, you know, going forward. Is I've never been involved in anything this big as a promoter. Basically, it's called Imagine Weekend, as you would have mentioned. It's like a festival weekend. Okay. There are like 5 events, you know. There's a boat ride, there's a juve, there's the glow party, there is a beach party, you know, and then there is the ultimate climax, which is like the big stage show. Yeah. You know, last year we would have had about 7,500 people there, you know, which is a lot for Barbados, you know, having, you know, done an event at like our cricket stadium, the Kensington Oval, you know, and seeing the amount of people flooding in there. Like, it was definitely one of the highlights, I would say, of, you know, my career. It really feels like, you know, looking back on what we were talking about in school, when, you know, you were kind of like that outcast wasting time, to, you know, now working hand in hand with the Barbados tourism unit and everything, you know, to boost the economy, boost the country, you know. It really means a lot, you know. But yeah, Imagine Weekend every November in Barbados, you know. Thanksgiving is kind of better on the beach, you know.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I mean, anybody would want to be in Barbados. I was
shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Plug November. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
But no, I love that, and I think that Barbados is this beautiful island.
Yes.
So much to offer. I know you mentioned it's flat.
So beautiful. It's so flat.
It is flat. I've been to so many mountainous islands, but nonetheless, beaches, the food, the people, they're so nice. And I think like you guys have an area and a sector for everybody, you know?
Right.
And how would you describe growing up there, and what like areas in which that you've played a part in?
Growing up in Barbados, whew, okay, how do I put this? It's definitely slow, but you don't know it's slow until you leave.
So when you went to New York, you're like, oh,
yeah, like literally people were like bumping into me because I was walking so slowly. And New York is kind of notorious for that. Like, I mean, you wake up in the morning and you gotta be going. You go.
It's nonstop.
Right?
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant or understood that life until I left Barbados. So, you know, to answer your question, to me, I would say that Barbados is relaxed. It really is the definition of what you would call island life or island living, you know. It's what I like about Barbados, however, is that we are quite an advanced island. So, you know, we've got access to good educational system. We've got, you know, good banking. We've got a pretty decently strong dollar, you know. It can be expensive sometimes, you know. But growing up there, like I said, it's the epitome of island life, you know, like everything is a stone throw away, you know. I would say it's quite a diverse place too when it comes to people, you know, especially when I went to school at Queen's College in Barbados, and I went to school with all kinds of people, you know, like I literally walked through society in Barbados and I know people of all walks of life, you know, from all skin colors and ethnicities, you know what I mean? Like I find it's a pretty diverse island, and I really like that about it. You know, you get to really understand different people and different culture, and yeah, it really is a cool place to live. You know, it can be. Yeah.
And would you ever say there was a moment in time where you had adversity struck you, or you were at a place where you thought to yourself, you question yourself, and mental health wise, like any obstacles that came that way?
You know, interestingly enough, I would say again, because the world is changing so fast, like how we had talked about how, you know, like entertainment was not really considered a real career. I feel like the topic of mental health is something that really only recently is becoming I don't like to use this word, but popularized. I remember as a kid, if somebody was going to therapy, to be like, "Oh, he mad." They say, "Oh, he's a madman." Like he not well in the head or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's only as I, have grown up, I realized, maybe we all are kind of not that well in the head, quote unquote. We all struggle with things, is what the real term should be for it. But I feel like it was something that is not spoken about often, but I definitely struggled with it a lot. I just didn't know. I didn't know what it was. Everybody has their own problems. I had my problems at home, and, going into school and stuff, I would carry that aggression. I would carry, that burden, and I never understood why, and it would have been great back then if somebody could have said, you should probably do therapy. It's okay to do therapy. I think that there are lots of pros and cons that come with this island life. There's a lot of things that people are kind of stuck in their own ways about, and it really would help a lot of kids, to better themselves if the topic of conversation was a little easier to be had,
Sure. And I feel like it's framed as they're ashamed of it. It's almost like you don't know how to be comfortable in those feelings because it's portrayed as such a bad thing.
Yes.
But
yes.
Was it therapy that really got you through
I've actually never even done it.
Okay.
Shame on me even, and I'll tell you what, at this stage, honestly, it's not that I haven't done it because I'm ashamed. I just haven't really got around to it. It's weird. I can't really explain what that means, but
no, I get it.
I just feel like because I've not done it for so long, I don't know, like it just kind of almost is a second thought when it really should kind of be a first. Like you really need to kind of do this kind of thing. But what I have done that I can say that I've really tried to better myself is I've done the research. I have investigated into why do I behave like this, or what is this about me? Like for instance, I'm a quite bad introvert, we would have had some talks before the camera, and I was saying, I can't really get to the parties too early before I have to play because my anxiety goes crazy. And it has a lot to do with me being an introvert as well, it's stuff that I really did extensive research on, But again, everybody's not going to do that, I'm kind of like a nerd sometimes like that, but everybody's not going to do it, But that's kind of how, because I just kind of got tired of feeling like, what is this burden I carry around? What is this aggression I carry around? And I would do a lot of research on it,
And this research that you speak of, the learning that you get from that, I could see that almost portrayed in the music that you produce.
Right.
And tell me more about your craft and what you're working on.
Yeah, so definitely the two they go hand in hand. One of the things I actually learned to do was channel my negative energy and turn it into a passionate drive of positivity for my music and what I do. So if I ever feel like I'm very angry and frustrated sometimes, what I try to do is maybe sit down and I'm just in there throwing it into the music, and some really cool stuff comes about of it, So these days, I'm heavily into music production as well. To answer the question of what I'm doing with it these days, it took me a while, funny enough, somebody who comes from a musical background, it took me kind of a while to really wrap my head around how to get the music sounding the way that I wanted it to sound. I could hear it in my mind, and I just for some reason couldn't get it done, on paper kind of thing. But my first original song would have been in 2017, and it was a big moment for me because I had started out doing remixes and mashups, which I'm very known for. That's when coming up as a DJ, I was very known for doing these mashups and slapping a cappella on an instrumental or whatever. But as far as making music, like I said, it didn't come natural, and I kept trying. The mashups turned into small productions, and there was this Trinidadian guy who ended up coming to Barbados to work with a soca artist in Barbados. And I met him through the grapevine. There was this guy, DJ met me, he's like, yo, my boy's in Barbados. You should link up with him, take him around for me because he's just there doing nothing. So, as a person from a tourism-based island, I'm like, oh, nah, let me, show him around and show him the island or whatever. And he was a songwriter, like I said. We ended up having a great time. Like we got drunk and talking a bunch of foolishness and just, having a good time. And we always kept the link after. And, I kind of messaged him when he went back to Trinidad. And I was like, I'm now kind of starting out as a producer. If you have any like ideas for songs, shoot me and let me see if I could just try to do something with one of them, because I never really did anything big before. So he messaged me one night, he sent a voice note. He was like, I got this idea for this song. And he starts like kind of singing his song in a voice note. He has like a real raspy voice. He's not a singer by any means. And it's just, you give me the I shall return and I must come back. And I was like, ooh, this is kind of cool. So I started messing around with it. And, like I said, my early days were in EDM. So like I would apply a lot of electronic music elements to it. And at the time in soca, like a lot of EDM was being infused with the soca. And I sent him back this demo, remember I used to sing as well. So I re-sang it, I sent him back this demo, and I was like, look what I did here. What do you think? And he was like, whoa, like that is dope.
Better track.
So he was like, who do you hear on it? And I was like, I think only Kes could do this song, and he was like, yeah, well, Kes already has all his songs for the year already. And I was like, well, we're holding this song until next year, and he's doing this song, I didn't know if he would like it or not, and the guy ended up sending it to Kes, and Kes was like, whoa, like this is the one. He ended up taking his song, doing his song, and it actually to this day still has some of my vocals embedded in the music and everything. And that song is called I Shall Return. We did that in 2017, and my first major song to be with like Kes the Band was a real big deal for me. Huge. I'm a big fan of Kes. I'm a big fan of his work, his body of work. I would say in soca, like he's definitely in my top 3 favorite artists. So that was a big deal for me. I went on to do more work in 2018. It didn't really happen for me. I was trying out the crop over circuits. And then in 2019 is when it really just exploded. I teamed up with a local artist, Lead Pipe. A lot of people would know him from songs like A Feeling and so on, with his partner Sadis. They basically had just decided to start doing independent solo careers. And they were at a point in their career where it was like, we had all these hits and then there was just empty space and we just can't seem to find it, And I would always tell them, as a DJ, I kind of know things about the way that the music and the sound goes, and I would be like, you guys need to try something at 110 BPM, which is like a slower, like a more groovy soca kind of tempo. I was like, this tempo is back in, because it died for a while and then it came back around. Everything kind of comes back around full circle. And as a DJ, that's why I would say like my expertise as a person in the industry, kind of understand the sound and how it evolves and changes and what comes in and what comes around. And he was like, yeah, like I'm down to try whatever, like he was low, he was at a low part of his life, he was, dealing with his own struggles. And, I was also dealing with mine, so I was like, okay, well, let's try something. So he came in and he started recording this song. We did this song. I had this really weird beat and he did this song and he was leaving the studio and he turns around and he says, I have the idea for this song. I want to sing it for you. And he just started belting out this song. And I just was like, mind blown. I was like, I'd never heard him sing like that before. And I was like, nah, get back here. Like I put just a drum kick doing this. And he sang this song and I literally had like a week to kind of finish it or whatever. Basically, yes, I just put this drum kick going on, bam, 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 and he just sang it like a cappella, and I had to leave because I tour. So there's a certain point within summer that I leave and I start to base in New York.
Okay.
And I kind of just go. There's no time to be home in studio. So I was like in a race. I just rushing, trying to finish this song. I was like, I know this is the one, and I put out this song and I left and I went on tour and I came back and this song, it was just undeniably the biggest song for the carnival. And it meant more to me than that Kes song because Kes, yeah, he's a big artist and somebody that I really look up to, but home is home. I'd never had a hit at home. And to have this, massive song like in Barbados, like, it was the most important moment, I would say, or series of moments for me, and the song ended up being so big that it ended up winning the road march. It's the slowest song to ever win a road march in the country. It's the longest standing road march ever because then COVID happened right after.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, like won like the People's Monarch. We won everything. Like we literally swept everything, and it was literally the coming about of a change in sound in Barbados and everything. I didn't realize it at the time, because what happened is, remember I was telling you the pandemic came about, and literally everything shut down in March.
Yep.
So we never got a chance to really see the success of this song. So 2020 came, 2021 came, stand still. 2022 came and they reopened everything, and I had just felt so demotivated, like I didn't want to participate, and I just didn't. I did not participate in Crop Over at all. It went along, everybody did what they did, and I was just at home playing Call of Duty. I was not interested, like it really broke my spirit, because like you're talking like 10 years really working towards the biggest moment in your life, and then the world shuts down. Like how bad can your luck really be? All right, so 2022 came, like I said, I shut down. 2023 came around and I was like, okay, enough, you need to get back out there. What do you have? I don't know, like, because it was like about March, April at the time. I hadn't been like making music or anything. I just decided, let me see what else I have here. So remember I told you when he came in, he was like originally singing this song that we didn't end up doing this song, because when he was leaving, he turned around and was like, yo, I have this other song I want you to hear. So, basically I was like, hey, you have this song here sitting down.
What are we doing about it?
What are we going to do this song? But when I listened to it, I could hear the inexperience in my production, because time had passed, and like my understanding for the music was a lot, higher as time goes. You get better.
Exactly.
So I was like, I can't put this out like this. I was like, what was I thinking? No. So I troubled it or whatever, and I sent it to him. I was like, yo, you remember this? And he was like, yeah, for some reason not really feeling it. He's like, I don't really want to do it. And he didn't say that, actually. I just felt like he didn't really want to do it. And I kept tweaking. I was like, trust me, you need to do this song. Like, this is fire.
Yeah.
Like, because I tweaked it, to go the times and everything. It was like, it's such a new sound. But I feel like because it was such a different sound, he kind of felt like, I don't know if I want to do this because it's so different, I'm just guessing. He never said this to me, but I just kind of catch a vibe, And I remember I was like, look, come and just put down a demo and trust me, like I would take this the rest of the way. He came and did the demo, and then he just disappeared. He just never came back. Like the song to this day has no background vocals, nothing. I ended up saying, look, I'm just going to put it out. Okay. And he was like, all right, man, I trust you. If you want to put it out, just put it out. We put it out, and that song is actually Brain Freeze, the song that ended up being the biggest song for me this year. For Crop Over, because I had another one there too. But for Crop Over, up to now that we're doing this interview in Barbados on the iTunes charts, it's still Brain Freeze, Mind Off Holiday.
Wow.
Brain Freeze is that song for Barbados. It's that defining moment where there was a new sound of the island. There was a new sound for Barbados. Like, we've been trying to find it for so long, and like we've got something here now, and the world is watching us again. Because like one of the things about me is like Barbados is like my home. That's my family. I'm first generation. So like I care almost too much about what they think, And like for a while, people were saying Barbados was falling off. Like St. Lucia was taking over with Dennery, and Job from Grenada was taking everything, and we weren't really hearing much from Barbados, and which wasn't necessarily true. It's just they were kind of new hype. It's like everybody has a time. We still had artists who were doing well, but the sound of Barbados, I felt needed something new. I'm not saying that it needed to change it, but it needed to add something else new. And I took a risk with this sound this year. And after Brain Freeze came Mind Off, with Lil Rick, who's a veteran, somebody who I stood up as a kid watching on stage, like, wow, like ultra superstardom. Before Rihanna superstardom, it was Lil Rick. He was the guy, you know what I mean? To having done a song with him,
full circle moment right there.
It's literally a full circle. That, funny enough, like, I sat down in New York because I actually had to end up leaving Barbados. Now I told you it comes a time where I have to leave, and I was in New York sitting down, and I released a song from New York, and I remember just plopping into the couch and just thinking, what have you just done? Like, you have a song with Lil Rick, like.
Look at
This
that.
is like an icon, a legend to me as a Barbadian. Barbados is my world, that's my family, you know what I mean? Like, this guy is the greatest. To me, he's a childhood hero, you know? And that song went on to rip Crop Over as well, you know? And then the last project would have been the Black Keys Riddim with Problem Child and Holiday. And, you know, that one again is so weird because these all of them have stories that are important to me. One of my best friends in the world, he was my producer when I was singing, you know, as an artist. He is like my best friend. Like, we used to dance together. You know, I've known him for nearly 20 years.
Both broke breakdancing? Like,
yeah, we used to be both dancers, you know, and then he was always in the music before me, you know, like I was always so inspired by him. You know, like even to this day, like my sound is because of him. You know, like he used to dance and he was always like the leader. And when everybody was dancing to these popular dancehall songs, he was dancing to like movie theme songs from The Matrix Reloaded. And like, I couldn't understand at the time because I was a kid. That's how I always knew he was so ahead. Yeah. He would like do these moves and bam, like when he hit them to like those like movie drums, it's like bam, bam, and you're like, whoa. What? As a kid, I couldn't understand what was happening. I was like, yo, this is so crazy. I couldn't understand the science. And, you know, to this day, every song that I make contains elements of movie music, of movie instruments, of the impact of what a movie music or soundtrack will make you feel. So if you listen to Brain Freeze and you hear those horns and stuff coming in, it's like, I'm making you feel that the way that I know a movie makes me feel. And it was because of him. He's the one that brought that to my whole psyche. I would have never even thought it in my mind. And after 20 years of friendship, we've, for the first time ever, teamed up and collaborated on making a project. And that project ended up being the Black Keys Riddim, where Problem Child's Holiday went on to being the biggest song in soca music for the entire summer of 2023.
Till now.
You know?
Just the summer. I be blasting that in my ears every day.
Yeah, so I feel like I need to pay homage to him. His name is Nelix. Renee Nelson is his real name. You know, I need to pay homage to him, you know, because I feel like I had these other big songs as well, but I rather share that spotlight with him in that moment, because without him, these other songs wouldn't even exist, you know, so.
And you got the hot
big up to Nelix. Yeah, I mean, that's creeping up, you know, and the girl, Real you know, that song was actually quite big for Crop Over. So there was a Problem Child and the Real Lane, they were like right there with each other, you know, and then the Problem Child just kind of went crazy. But shout out to Rhea as well, you know, we wanted to work with the females in soca. We kind of find that the females need some attention in the soca arena, you know, and coming from a nation that boasts the Queen of Soca, Alison Hines. You know, we want to kind of get the girls involved again, you know, so we gave her a song, you know, and, you know, she gave us a song, and it was just awesome, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
You shared so much there, and I'm so proud. So congratulations.
Yeah.
That's huge. And like I said, it's not just the summer, it's literally ongoing, and, and it's gonna be a while, it's gonna be forever. We're gonna hear that the next carnival and the next carnival and more. Speaking of carnival, which one stands out to you most? I know, again, you said you never left. And then you never said you left Barbados since you were 20, but then
I mean, I've done a lot of carnivals since
I believe it. I believe it. So tell me.
I do like 8 carnivals a year.
And you spoke about London and Toronto being a big fan base of yours. But
carnivals. First of all, I've never done Toronto Carnival, and I probably never will. It's just not
it's the same
possible.
Time as Crop Over.
You know, I really wish that one of them would just say, you know what, let's move, because in actuality, like we get a lot of tourism from Toronto and Canada in general. And if we could just separate that by a week, the tourism that we could see from Canada coming into, you know.
It's always the biggest debate for us.
Yeah. So I can't really speak on Toronto Carnival, you know. I'm pretty sure it's awesome. I love Toronto, it's an awesome place, but hopefully one day I could somehow find a way to escape and see it. I don't know how. But so that one is out. I can't talk on Toronto. I speak on carnivals kind of the way that I speak on islands.
Okay.
One of the things that I really don't like to do is compare islands.
No.
I really hate comparing islands. And when I hear people say, oh, you know, Jamaica's the best or Trinidad is the best or Barbados.
Yeah.
There's no best. Like, as a person who really travels to all these islands, I feel like everyone is magic. And as every island almost has a carnival,
Yes.
and every carnival is magic, right?
Yes.
So I just don't like to compare them, but I do have like favorites. You know, that doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just means that one suits me a little more on my persona. And I definitely, I have to be biased. Barbados is there for me.
Yeah.
We just have to put that on a side. Like, we
it's
talked
there.
about this. Like, that's home.
It.
Barbados is always going to be that
For
one
sure.
for me. But apart from Barbados, which is a biased opinion, I think that Trinidad has to be up there for me. You know, when you talk about the mecca of carnivals in soca carnivals, I just feel like a certain level of authenticity whenever I'm in Trinidad. Another thing is every island has a sound with their music. Trinidad's sound is a sound I really love because it really, you remember I was talking even about movie music. I'm not saying they do movie music, but their sound is one that I really like when I'm there and I'm on the road and I feel it in a way. It's not just about wine and jam and partying. It's about like, I remember even like when Haunted, songs like Haunted, like this haunted feeling. And it's like the end of Carnival, you know it's the end. And you hear that and like, I even get goosebumps talking about it. You know, as your last lap with a tribe or somebody and you're just like, wow, like it's over. And it's like, you could cry if you would, you know, it's like, nah, like you can't done. You know, I love Trinidad's carnival. But I've been to several, like, you know, like I think that Grenada probably has arguably one of the best carnivals. You know, it's not necessarily my personal style, but when I went there and I saw their carnival, I was like, woo. Yeah. You guys have got something organically amazing here. This is, I never seen anything like this. Yeah. You know, it's just every one, even like Notting Hill Carnival, you know.
They're
it's
all unique to their own.
To see like 3 million people on the road, like celebrating Caribbean culture, and then there's something organic in the way that they enjoy Caribbean culture is like, I have not seen it like anywhere, not even in Trinidad. Nobody's as hype as Notting Hill. Yeah. They don't care what you play, how you play it. They're just here to enjoy the culture. And for that, I love Notting Hill, you know. So it's, you know, different things, you know. And then obviously my Barbados, you know, I always say we've got a perfect blend of, you know, having, you know, an authentic carnival and the love of Caribbean culture and music paired with a tourist destination. And that's like, to me, one of the most beautiful things about Barbados. Yeah. We've got the rooms for the accommodation, we've got the rentals, we've got the beaches, we've got, you know, the warmth of the islands, and then we've also got this great crop over carnival product. You know, it's not, for us, we don't call it a carnival, you know. Anybody watching this from Barbados may be like, we call it a festival because we do more than just the carnival aspect. I feel like a carnival is a part of it, but we also showcase lots of arts, you know, culinary, you know, the list goes on and on. It's literally like a festival. It has a whole meaning behind it. You know, crop over is a festival celebrating the end of, you know, the sugarcane harvest kind of thing, you know. So yeah, it's like a festival. Yeah. You know, so shout out to my little Barbados. Yes. Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. You speak a lot about the sound that you follow, and I know a lot of influence also comes through some Afro Beats that we were talking about earlier, African music. Like, tell me more about that.
So this conversation can go a couple different ways. First of all, when it comes to the sound, I feel like definitely Afro has influenced me, but I also feel like as a Caribbean sound, we've also influenced them so much, you know, so I feel like it really just goes hand in hand. What I love about their sound is it's a bit more R&B-esque. It's a bit more mellow with these tone selections and the chord structures of their music, which I love because when I was singing in the band, like R&B was that was my thing. Like I loved Usher, big Chris Brown fan. You know, I love the sound of R&B, so I love their melodies. I love, you know, the way it just sits. But obviously, you know, in the soca arena, you know, it's not necessarily that mellow. So for me, the trick was to try to figure out how can I marry these two, you know, in one, because I love Afrobeat. You know, I don't think that there's a genre that captivated me that much over the past 10 years. You know, I think that Afro is that genre that makes me feel like, okay, it's like home, because they're grooving like us. You know, we got a similar groove, so we could, you know, get dance to that or whatever. But it has like an international flair about it, you know, in terms of the musicality and the lyrical criteria and the way that their melodies are, that, you know, give me a taste of like the outer world as well. And I just love that, you know. So for me personally, with my music, it definitely has a big influence, but I try not to just make their music. I still try to keep somewhat the Caribbean, in particular the soca market, which I'm in at the moment. Because I mean, I'm not opposed to doing dancehall. I'm definitely going to be doing all kinds of things.
Oh my gosh.
Right? But I definitely had to find a way to kind of bring it back home as well, you know. So like the Lil Rick song is very Afro influenced, but you know, the stuff he's singing with the Bajan accent and everything is so Barbados. You know, so I always have to find a way to blend, you know, like I think it has a lot to do with me and my build up as a person as well. You know, my mom is Venezuelan, my dad is St. Lucian. He's black and Indian. My mom is like white Latina. You know, like I'm kind of like a bunch of mixed up things in a pot, and I just love all culture. You know, I like anything that has strong culture. I just love that. You know.
I love that.
Yeah.
And really, you've shown that again, like I said, in everything you do. Speaking of which, Static. Tell us more about that.
Okay, so I mean, obviously we talked a bit about my events and, you know, how that really was the start of me, you know, as a whole touring body. I went on to tour as a DJ, but the one thing that I didn't have touring was an event. I do all these big events for many years, like 14 years in the industry. I've been doing massive events in Barbados, but I don't do any events outside of Barbados. So I felt like it was time. I felt like, you know, my future is right back where it started. It's gonna be with these events. That's where it begins, and I feel like that's where my road will end too. You know, as an event promoter, and I, you know, started this brand called Static. You know, I had this friend who I bounce ideas off of all the time, and you know, I was like, what could I name this? And she was like tossing a bunch of ideas. I was tossing a bunch of ideas, and she was like, what about Static? And, you know, I was like, wow, that name is so cool, because like, it's like static is like disruptive in a sense, you know what I mean? It's not really on anything at the moment, but like the slogan for Static is and will be disruptive culture, you know, and I just felt like this is so perfect, you know. So we had this name, and I was like, okay, like, where do I start? So I started analyzing all of my destinations that I toured to, and Toronto, you know, like I had said earlier, is one of the strongest of following. It is some of the warmest people out there for me. Very welcoming, very supportive. You know, if I do something in New York, for instance, it's gonna be hard for me to get people to come out. One of my favorite places, I got to New York tattooed on my arm. Inspirational place, but you talk about doing an event in New York City, you really got to come with something. I don't know, like it's not easy. But, you know, I said, you know, well, maybe not America. Let me try Toronto. I feel like every time I've gone there, you know, even when it's not my event, people are coming out to see me play. You know, people are supporting me. I'm looking at my stats, you know, the people who are commenting and really showing interest in the music, even with Brain Freeze. Some of the most story posts that I've got have been from Toronto. The support system here is crazy. So I decided, you know, let me come and start it here. So I started here in June this year, Static, and I also launched Houston. I wanted to launch London as well, but all the boats were gone by the time. Yeah, so I started with Toronto, and I did this boat ride, and I didn't know what to expect. And, you know, for my first event, it completely sold out. You know, I feel like if I did an event like that in Barbados, and then I've even sold out.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know, you know, because like the events I do in Barbados are like tested and proven over time, you know. And this is like the first time. Nobody really knows what is Static. Who knows what that is? Nobody knows what that is.
But they know who Jus Jay King is.
Yeah, so I did it, and I tied it in with my birthday, as I'm a June born, I'm a Gemini. And I decided, I'll start like a birthday tour event, and going into next year, I'm definitely going to look at adding more cities to this birthday tour. And static to me is going to be the future of me touring, as an entertainer, I definitely want that when people think Static is coming to town, they're thinking Jus Jay is coming to town, you know what I mean? As I grow and I elevate, I want that to be something that goes hand in hand with the Jus Jay brand. It's like there's Static, there's Jus Jay. I'm coming to see him perform with Static, So, yeah.
That's disrupting the culture for real.
As
you go
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned it, just real. I never really too touched on it. It's kind of like a deeper meaning as well when I say disruptive culture, because I'd be a liar if I said, bringing Caribbean culture somewhere. Like, we've got Caribbean culture in Toronto already. Mm-hmm. There's Caribbean culture in London. There's Caribbean culture all over the world.
Exactly.
So I kind of feel like I should probably be clear on it, I was saying a little earlier that I felt like Barbados needed a new sound, and it needed something to add to the already coexisting greatness that the country has had for many years, from the square ones to the crossfires. That's where my sound with Brain Freeze and Sometime and the Black Keys project and the Mind Off have come from is birthed from that. The disruptive culture is along these lines. It really has a deeper meaning. It's not an event for Barbados, but it's definitely an event to kind of disrupt the culture that has come about in recent times, where you see less and less Barbadians coming out to support certain things, you know what I mean? As a DJ, like, there's really just me and Puffy on the circuit. When you talk about Trinidad, there's Private Ryan, there's about 20 DJs, and then not to talk about the artists. So when they talk about disruptive culture, it's kind of like a secret meaning almost, like, there's someone from Barbados representing, again, let's disrupt this culture, like, Barbados is still here, we're still a player in the industry, like, this is a new wave, this is a new generation, like, time to disrupt the norm of what because there's a new generation coming up now that they're not as patriotic because they're not seeing as many Barbadians on the scene as they used to. Like, when you look at the past, you've got the greatness of Alison Hines and Square One, Crossfire, Rupee, like, we had greatness, and it's not that we don't have greatness now. It's just it's almost like a, like if you've got a parent who is successful, and like you kind of have to live up to it, it's kind of difficult. So like we do have artists out there like Hyper Sounds and the King Bubbas of the world who, have kind of did great things, but for me, I think that we need to add more to really create something again that is the greatness of Barbados. And I think that goes beyond the music they make. That has to do with people like me who are going to come and do events. Yes. That Barbadians will come out also with their flag among other people.
Of course.
But that you feel proud to say, hey, like, I always say, like, Scorch, like, if I was a Trinidad, I'd be real proud to say, like, Scorch is a brand built in Trinidad, or Soca Brainwash is a brand built in Trinidad. You see flags from all over the world.
Yeah.
But, that's something that's synonymous with being from Trinidad. I want to be somebody who's, like, got people from all over the world coming, to this event that is built by a Barbadian, that you can see Bajan culture as well as everything else, so that's how the disruptive culture idea kind of comes around.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
I think that will really come to life as you go along. And when I think about these moments, right, you've built your way up, you've really come through adversity, you've had some moments of trying to understand, like, who am I going to be in this entertainment world? Spoke with the beginning to the end as a promoter as entertainment.
Yes.
What is a message or something that you want to give to people that are listening about just how you can come to be who you are and inspire them?
Ooh, this is a topic that I can go on forever. I'm known to be a rambler. Like, I love giving advice, like, especially too because no one ever gave me advice. Let me not say no one. People have given me advice, but people tend not to really share it where it counts. A lot of the time, a lot of people kind of see it as like a competitive thing. I beg to differ, and one of the things that I would give advice to anybody on that would kind of solidify this point that it's not really a competition is the industry is built up of individuals who are noted for doing particular things a lot of the times. You know, whether that is Private Ryan and his mixtapes or DJ Puffy and the Redbull 3 style. It could be the way that you dress. It could be a blog that you do. It could be that you do comedy as well as you're a DJ. You know what I mean? There's several things about a person that makes them that individual that occupies a space. And every person that I've given advice to is generally youngsters, you know, who want to know, you know, how do I get out here in this game and all that. And I always say, people focus a lot on the wrong things a lot of the time. You focus on being better. I want to be better than Jus Jay, or he's not better than me. Puffy is not better than me, or Private Ryan, he's not this, or, you know, Kevin Crown isn't that, or whatever. You know, people tend to love to compare, and they don't understand that it's almost like a parking space. Imagine that there's a parking lot, and every space is filled by somebody. And it's your job, almost like Harry Potter, to wave a magic wand and do this and park a space where your car then sits. You know, so if you went into a mall and there's a parking lot there, you can't lift someone's car up and move it, can you? That's the equivalent of what people try to do when they compare, you know, themselves to other people. It's like, try to understand, what is it about that person, you know, who is occupying this space that allows them to be there, even if I don't think that they're that good. There must be something. They didn't just magically appear there. So your job should be, well, honing your craft, yes. Obviously, hone your craft. If you want to be a singer, be good at it. Learn it the right way. If you want to be a DJ, do your research, learn it, do it the right way. But almost equally as important as that, the advice I would give is, you need to really analyze the industry and figure out, what can I add to the industry that nobody else is adding? Who can I be in the industry that no one else is? You know, there's a lot of copycatting that goes on in this market. People see someone doing something, they want to do it. That is the ultimate way to really just put yourself 2 stairs down. Your aim should be, how do I leapfrog over this threshold or this wall, you know, that is almost an invisible wall where, you know, that I can get onto this circuit. And I kind of say it like this as if it's easy. It took me about 10 years to truly, really, you know, the year of sometime was the year that 2019 was the year that I really burst out onto the scene. Before that year, I was touring, but lightly. You know, a conversation for another day. Like, I've gone to carnivals and stayed in people's attics and stuff, you know, just trying to be out here with people. You know, that's part of it, learning, figuring out, how do I get out here? Like, and I'm not gonna lie, like, I reached a point where I nearly wanted to quit. It's hard. You know, I'm here saying it as if, yeah, like 2 + 2 is 4. It's not. You know, but that is the best advice I could give someone. And I feel like that spans across all of the art forms. You know, everybody's trying to do what anybody else is doing. You know, remember, I could draw back to the conversation on Brain Freeze when I was like, you know, I'm not sure that I wanted to do it. I feel like the sound was too different. You know, that was a defining moment for me. Like, I changed
the game.
Everything. You know, like, you know, me and my partner Nelly were the same Black Keys Riddim as well. You know, the sound, it was like we brought something that people were afraid to do. That Black Keys Riddim, nobody wanted to be on it. We send that to so many artists, no one wanted to be on it. No, my phone is crazy. People want to pay to be on it. We're like, no, it's closed. You know, this project is closed. You know, so that's the best advice I can really give to people. You know, you really need to be daring. People don't want to dare. They want to just kind of just come out here and just fit in. Fitting in is not something you ever really want to do. You need to really be bold and say, hey, I'm going to try to create something that nobody else is doing, and I'm gonna coin it. I'm gonna own it. You know, in Barbados, I would say before me, Peter Coppin was that guy who would have been the godfather of what we call bashment soca. And remember, I had kind of taken it back when I said that, you know, people never really shared. He was actually somebody who did share some things with me. You know, he taught me how to use my voice as a DJ, and just being able to be around him and watch him. You know, I remember he was saying that when he started doing bashment soca, that, you know, people were like, what is this foolishness? Like, this isn't music. You know, he went on to really define the sound of Barbados, give Bajans a chance to use their own accent and it be cool to them, you know, and that's history. So, yeah.
What can we look forward to next? I know you mentioned a bit of dance hall and anything that what we're going to see in 2024.
Next, more music. I'm about to actually, before I was even coming here to do this talk with you, you know, I'm actually getting ready to release my first. I know I told you that I did I Shall Return with Cass, but really and truly that was Cass's project. I was just a producer. I'm actually about to release my first original production in Trinidad. Besides that, that is Jus Jay and GBN Neutron. It's called When Last. And that will be my first real entry as an artist producer in Trinidad. Remember I told you I feel a special way about Trinidad as a mecca of carnivals and one that I really do love. I feel, you know, that is next. You know, I'm real excited to see how that's going to do. And, you know, apart from that, Static is going to London next year. You know, Static will be coming back to Toronto next year, bigger and better. You know, looking for more, you know, Jus Jay events, Jus Jay music next year, even more music. I would like to maybe explore doing some stuff with Jamaica's Carnival. You know, that's something in the works. Yeah, those are the things really that I would say are exciting that are coming about for next year.
I'm looking forward to it all. And again, I thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And sharing this. It means a lot to everybody that's watching, I'm sure, and everyone that will take this and learn so much more about you. So thank you, Tristan.
Thank you for having me, man.
Cool. Appreciate it. Thank you again for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel, as well as follow us on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts.